Ready? Good afternoon, everybody. It is Friday, June 21st, 2024. This is a regular meeting of the Commissioners of the City of Rehoboth Beach. We're live in second floor Commissioners' room in City Hall. I'd like to call this meeting to order at exactly 2 o'clock p.m. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll start off with roll call. Commissioner Don Preston.
Here.
Commissioner Tim Bennett. I'm sorry.
Here.
No, now I'm all messed up. Commissioner Tony Sharp. Here. Commissioner Ed Stronowski.
Here.
Commissioner Patrick Gossett.
Here.
Commissioner Tim Bennett.
Here.
Commissioner Bunky Markert.
Here.
And Mayor Stan Mills. We have a full complement of the mayor and commissioners, and therefore we have a quorum and are able to formally conduct business today. Thank you all for being here. I'd also like to introduce our staff that helps to run our meetings. City Secretary Ann Womack, raise your hand there. City Manager Taylor Tedder. City Solicitor Alex Burns. Keith Banks, Chief of Police. Assistant City Manager Evan Miller. Public Works Supervisor Henry Matlos. Lynn Cohen, City Communication Specialist. Community Planning Director, Mary Ellen Gray, and Matt Janis, Building and Licensing Supervisor. Thank you all for being here. And also want to thank all those that are in here in person today, all of you. Appreciate you being here. And thank those that are watching virtually. Of course, those of you that are here, I think you have been here before, and so you know the process that as we go through the agenda, there are certain agenda topics that we seek feedback from the members of the public for. So we will entertain you raising your hand, come up, give your name and your relationship to the city, and we'll receive your feedback. With that, want to also remind people that we do have a 3-minute time limit on speaking. We have support documents. Those are documents that support our individual agenda topics, and they are embedded in the agenda when they are ready a sufficient time ahead of the agenda being published. And that way you'll be able to see what we are talking about and looking at. I would like to make a couple changes to the agenda sequencing for new business. A and B, I'm just going to reverse those. We'll do B first and then A. And also change for old business, there's A and C, which are the exact same things. We'll skip over A and go to B. So we're only going to do Chapter 92 one time tonight, not two. With that, correspondence. We have an email received from Carolyn Diefendorfer. We'll get to that at the appropriate time during the meeting. But that is embedded in the agenda as well for you to see. With that, we'll move on to approval of minutes. We've got 8 set of minutes to approve tonight. I'm going to do them in 2 sessions. I would like to do all those in 2024 first and then 2021. Those 7 sets in 2024 include the following: executive session held on February 16th, April 19th, May 6th, June 10th, regular meeting held on May 17th, special meetings held on June 10th, and a special budget workshop meeting held on March 15th. Are there any changes or corrections to those 7 sets of minutes? If
Mayor,
not, then I would entertain a motion to approve.
I move we approve all of the minutes listed for meetings held in 2024.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ed Stronowski and a second by Commissioner Tony Sharp to approve the 7 sets of minutes for the year 2024 as read and in the agenda. Are there any questions or discussion? If not, then we'll do a group vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? And those 7 sets of minutes for 2024, as noted, are approved. With that, we have a workshop meeting held on February 8th, 2021. There is not a quorum here, so if you would explain, City Solicitor, that ability that everybody, even though they weren't in attendance, are able to vote on these sets of minutes.
That's right, Mayor. Thank you very much. As I've mentioned at previous meetings when this issue's come up, there's a duty under FOIA to maintain and approve minutes. So even if you were not in attendance, you may vote, or you can abstain if you'd like.
All right. So would entertain a motion to approve the workshop meeting minutes held on February 8th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Ed Chernowski and a second by Commissioner Tony Sharp to approve the workshop meeting minutes held on February 8th, 2021. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
I abstain.
And we have two abstentions, which are Commissioner Preston and Commissioner Sharp. With that, still the minutes are approved. With that, we'll move right along to City Manager's report.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. The City of Rehoboth Beach will celebrate the Independence Day holiday with a fireworks display on Saturday, July 6th. Several parking restrictions will be in place throughout the day, and road closures will be implemented that evening. Restrictions and closures are all listed in the fireworks announcement on the right-hand side of the city's homepage, but I'll note just a couple of the closures here. The bandstand area will be closed to vehicular traffic from 6 p.m. to midnight. Vehicles will not be able to cross the Rehoboth Avenue Circle beginning at 7:30 p.m. And Rehoboth Avenue eastbound and Church Street from State Route 1 will be closed to vehicular traffic beginning at 8 p.m. The bus pickup location following the fireworks will be in the area around the Henlopen Hotel. And festivities begin at 8 p.m. with the Funsters performing at the bandstand. The fireworks will launch from the beach near Brooklyn Avenue at about 9:30 p.m. City offices will also be closed Thursday, July 4th for the holiday. Residential trash will be collected on the south side of town as regularly scheduled. And note that City Hall will be open from 8:30 a.m. to noon on Saturday, July 6th, so that those eligible may register to vote in the August 10th municipal election. Beach Patrol construction. We anticipate that the construction of the wooden forms for the elevator pit and the garage for the patrol's ATVs will be completed by close of business today. After that, dirt will be backfilled and construction of the main level will begin with more wood forms, rebar installation, and concrete pours. In addition, the north retaining wall will be poured and concrete pours will continue to occur throughout the next month. We've asked J.D. Bartlett with our construction management firm, EDIS, to present information related to the project status, hurdles with the project, the schedule moving forward, and some change orders and related costs at the Commissioner's July 8th workshop meeting. Peyton Bridge with Davis, Bowen, and Friedel will also be on hand to answer questions related to design changes on the facility. Street aid expenditures this month included an $11,276.10 payment to Delmarva Power and a $971 payment to Apple Electric. And you'll notice a budget report embedded in the agenda related to this item showing revenue and expenses for April and May of 2024. General fund revenues for this period ending in May 31 were $3.05 million, or 12% of the annual budgeted revenue, which is consistent with the prior year. Total revenue from all sources of parking were $1.43 million, with parking permit sales constituting about $778,000 of that total. Parking meter revenue, which includes credit card and pay by phone, was $563,000. And total water fund revenues for April and May were over $314,000. In total, these revenues were about 4.2% of the annual amounts budgeted, and percentages are consistent with the prior year. Wastewater revenues consistent with the prior year were only about 1% of the annual budget. They'll increase when quarterly billings are recorded for the April and June period. Our finance department will present a departmental report and update on the status of the city's current budget on your July 19th meeting. And I am here for any questions you may have.
I have one. City Manager, Did you just say 1.43 million on parking revenue?
That's correct.
And could you talk a little bit or opine a little bit on what that's telling us?
Sure. So it's really interesting because we have pay by phone, Park mobile app transactions, and then coin transactions. And looking at the difference just on coin transactions, so we are down over 3,200 coin transactions. However, we're up over 7,100 credit card transactions, which means that we had almost 4,000 more transactions year over year. So revenue is in total up quite a bit.
So is it fair to just, on this snapshot, to say we are trending above what we anticipated?
Correct.
Thank you.
City Manager, on that topic, I think we got an update for May at the last meeting, and I had asked that parking revenue is up year over year, but it's not really apples to apples because we had increased the rate. And to compare units sold versus the financial aspect, have we done that?
Right. So looking at the transactions, so that's kind of the measure of what we can look at. So looking at 2023 to 2024, we're nearly 4,000 more transactions. So that is more people initiating a session to park.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else up here? Patrick?
Yeah, and with regards to the budget comment reports, the mercantile license, when we have the financial update in July 19th, could we also have a reflection? We talk about the dollar amount, but I would like to see the number of licenses sold last year as compared to this year, because again, we're expecting an anticipation of increase in those costs. And also, I received a couple of comments from residents with regards to the gift that we received of the fountain at the Park of the Navigators, and it is not operational. So if you could get an update of, is there a problem with it or just what's going on with that, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mary Ellen? It was functional at one time, I guess.
We all were.
Mary Ellen Gray, Planning and Community Development Director. Mike Peterman looked at it today, and we are looking to see whether we checked the water level, and because that was number one, see the water level is the reason why the water isn't pumping. So now we're looking to see whether the electric is not working because we're having trouble with the electric service. So we're going to see on Monday whether the electric is not, whether there's a problem with the electric service. And then the next level is whether the pump is, whether there's a problem with the pump. So we are on it and looking into it.
I hope all of this is under warranty.
Yes. Well, I say yes. I'm assuming so. So we will be looking into all of that. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else up here? If not, is there anything further to the city manager's report? You done? All righty. With that, we'll move along to city solicitor's report. Alex?
Thank you very much, Mayor. I just have a quick update today. 330 Hospitality Group LLC versus City of Rehoboth Beach. You may recall this is a case challenging a denial of a rezoning request. I spoke with Dan Griffith, who is the lead attorney on that case, and he expects a decision very soon. This dates back to 2019. The case was filed in 2022, and any day now we could get a decision, and I will update you accordingly. The other item I have is that there's an ADU bill, and an ADU is an accessory dwelling unit. There's an ADU bill in the State General Assembly, which I'm keeping my eye on in case it gains any momentum in the late stages of the General Assembly's legislative session. And the reason I am keeping an eye on this is because As I've mentioned previously, this would require local governments to adopt an ordinance allowing ADUs by right on single-family parcels and not allow municipalities to impose any parking requirements, which could have major ramifications for the city. So I'm keeping my eye on that.
And it has a major impact on all the coastal cities, in fact, from what I
Just for
can tell.
definition, that's accessory dwelling unit?
Yep.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you very much. With that, and you're done? With that, we'll move on to, it says, the agenda says departmental reports. They're really standing departmental reports. These are ones done each regular meeting, once a month. If you recall, we're also, in lieu of oral liaison reports, we've inserted in there departmental reports. They will normally be done at each regular meeting. We had Jean Lee, Human Resources, actually report at the workshop meeting because she could not be here today. And so starting in, July, where's Evan took off? In July, regular meeting, we'll have the departmental report, in-depth report from the Finance Department, I believe. And then August, we'll have an in-depth departmental report from Building and Licensing. So we've set that in motion. With that, we'll go to board and commission reports. They are all embedded in the agenda, as are the standing departmental reports. There are 2 Board of Adjustment reports and 1 Planning Commission report. Again, we don't need to go over them because they are part of the support document program embedded in the agenda. Alec, we will mention later the Board of Adjustment reports. I'll try to summarize those when the time's appropriate during permanent compliance. With that, we move right along.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Before you get too far away from the departmental reports, could you remind me, when did we have, I thought we already had the Communications Department report with Lynn? Did we already have that? I can see Lynn up at the podium.
Lynn, do you know, is this to be a standing
Is that a website
report?
Yeah,
Is that a
there's
website
presentation
update?
on the website.
With you, it was a Reach Out Rehoboth
Yes, it was.
update. So I'm happy to talk with you about other things, communications, but that is what the reports attached to the agenda relate to, is Reach Out Rehoboth.
Right, and I believe when we talked about Reach Out Rehoboth last, and tell me if I'm missing it in here, I was curious about an action plan on how Reach Out could be improved, how our interactions could be improved. I know I said that. Did anybody hear me say that? And I don't know that we have done that yet, so I'm just curious about it.
I don't recall.
Of course you don't.
I do recall that there was discussion about a survey going out with regards to wind power, and I stated that I was completely against that because we have no actual influence or impact on establishing wind power sites out there. And I thought that in establishing or asking for a study or a questionnaire survey with regard to this, it would just be inappropriate because we have no action to respond to that with any positive or negative information. That's my memory of the presentation.
Well, and I'll say again that for me, Reach Out and the investment we've made in it is not accelerating. To me, it may be a failed investment at some time in the near future, and I'll leave that to others to determine if that's a fair assessment or an unfair assessment. I had such great hopes for it, and I'm extraordinarily disappointed. But if I'm a voice of one, then that's perfectly fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lynn. With that, we're moving on to committee reports. Likewise, for the liaison reports, we want those written as much as possible. Commissioner Marker, I know you submitted something. We'll have that embedded in the agenda if that's all right. And then you said you had a follow-up to that after your next meeting. Is that all right?
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. And Boardwalk Committee will have a report for next meeting. With that, we're going to do something called Community Partner Reports. This is in lieu of the liaison reports. The community partners are Chamber of Commerce, Public Library, Main Street Museum, Cape and Lopez Senior Center, and Rehoboth Beach Volunteer Fire Company. They're all suggested to submit written reports in advance. This is the first month doing it. Some did, some have not. They're learning the timeline, so we need to give them a little patience, I think.
Mayor, if you,
Yes.
could I just make one comment on that? I did get a couple questions, and people were concerned that this was a surprise to them that the process has changed. And I just want to make clear that this doesn't devalue our appreciation or reliance on these organizations or their input, but this is a change for time management and meeting efficiency purposes, not for any other reason. That's a fair
Well,
statement?
Sorry, there is one other reason. It's not in opposition to anything you've said. It's just to say that it's to emphasize the importance of hearing from the thing that we're responsible for, which is the running of the city government.
Yeah.
And to hear from the staff about how that's going.
Correct.
So that's why we asked for this change to be made. It is not to de-emphasize the importance of the other, just like you said.
And I would think that there's no reason that any of these groups couldn't ask if they have something that rises to the level it needs to be its own agenda topic or something, that they couldn't probably ask for that. And we were thinking that toward the end of the year, they'll be doing reporting on orally at some point, possibly, give them one shot, but we haven't determined the process there.
Mayor, also though, as part of the grant application process, in the acceptance letter, it is stipulated that they would appear at the September regular meeting for an update with regards to the conditions placed on the applicants for the grants. So I would emphasize that we are not overlooking that. And again, it's also stated in there that they would be presenting at the first budget meeting for the next fiscal year.
And that's the one seeking contributions.
For the budget
'Cause
meeting,
there are
yes.
Some like the chamber that don't, so. Okay.
Well, thank you, Mayor. A few people had questioned me the change in process, so I just thought it was important to clarify.
Yep, appreciate you doing that.
Mayor, I had one comment also. I know there's no one here from the fire department, but one of the asks that we had was for an emergency services fee that would be implemented or that we discussed for our residents. I did see that the legislature in Dover has recently passed some sort of bill that's going to allow municipalities or counties to be able, so I was just wondering, maybe the city solicitor or city manager or staff could find out more about that. Maybe we don't have to be chasing, maybe the fire department doesn't have to send that to us. Maybe it's going to be a county thing, right? I'm not sure.
Okay.
If I may, the stipulation of that piece of legislation is that this allows for each of the counties to establish an emergency fund. And the only stipulation in that is that those funds must be segregated into a separate account. There is no guideline whatsoever as the amount or how it to be assessed or anything of that nature. It just gives the county the permission to do this. So I understand your comment, but I still feel it important that we keep this moving forward, as we've made a commitment of $200,000 to the fire department here for their support, which they certainly need, and I support that. But again, I think that a emergency services fee, maybe we could be the model for the county in establishing this.
Okay. Yeah, as I said, I wasn't all familiar with you seem to know more of it than I did, but I just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you. With that, we're going to move on to a public hearing of a permit of compliance request by Robert Frankus of Dynamy LLC to operate a new restaurant serving alcoholic beverages to be known as Baja Bob's pursuant to Municipal Code Chapter 215 Restaurants. The The restaurant will be located at 101 South Boardwalk. Is there a representative present? Yes. Very good. We'll have you introduce yourself in a moment. With that, I do want to preface before Alex starts with a review of two reports submitted and as support documents by the Board of Adjustment. Board of Adjustment submitted a report on May 21st referencing a May 20th Board of Adjustment meeting summary for the mayor and commissioners. And essentially, they were, Baja Bob's was making an application to open a new restaurant serving alcohol on the boardwalk, which is below above the dunes so that we can locate you. However, the city code limits the overall restaurant and bar area and size in a single building, and therefore they had to seek a variance. That's a Board of Adjustment report dated May 21st, referencing a May 20th Board of Adjustment meeting. The second report by the Board of Adjustment is dated June 7th, 2024. It's in reference to a continuation of a May 20th Board of Adjustment meeting summary for the mayor and commissioners. It indicates that this is a continuation of a request for variance pursuant to section 270-19A4 to allow a second restaurant occupancy in one existing building with a total of 1,006 square feet over the allowable aggregate 2,500 square feet for permanent seated dining and bar areas. The property is located in the C1 Commercial District. Address, again, is 101 South Boardwalk. It's important to note, and the report concludes, that the vote of the Board of Adjustment voted 5-0 in favor of approving the variance based on the financial hardship. I read that because it needs to be noted and recorded in our proceedings today that they indeed encountered a problem that has now been resolved through Board of Adjustment action. With that, I want to turn this part of the meeting over to City Solicitor.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a restaurant permit of compliance hearing for Baja Bob's. And so under 215-2, no person shall operate, maintain, or carry on the business of a restaurant until the owner or lessee has received a permit of compliance from the city stating that said restaurant or dinner theater is in compliance with all the city's applicable zoning and licensing requirements. So that's why we're here today. A permit of compliance or a supplemental permit of compliance shall not be issued to the applicant or to the Delaware Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission except by the favorable vote of a majority of the members of the city commissioners. In reaching their decision, the commissioner shall consider the following factors, including but not limited to the following. So these are the factors that the board should consider in deciding this application. Number one, whether the applicant has demonstrated that the establishment's primary purpose will be that of a restaurant or dinner theater as defined in this chapter. Two, whether the establishment meets all of the city's applicable zoning and licensing provisions. Three, whether the establishment would be a detriment to the peace, order, and quiet of the neighborhood and the city. Four, whether the establishment would have an adverse impact on the neighboring properties or on the city of Rehoboth Beach, considering the impact on traffic, parking, and noise. And five, whether the applicant has made any false representations or statements to the city's employees or the commissioners in order to induce or prevent action by the city, not only in regard to the pertinent pending application under this chapter, but also in regard to the issuance of a building permit or business license for the subject establishment. And so there are a set of materials that have been provided to the commissioners. I'd like to move those into the record. First, there is a public notice that was posted on Friday, May 31st, 2024. The public notice was given to residents within 200 feet of the establishment. It was published in the Cape Gazette on Tuesday, June 4th, 2024, and published in the Delaware State News on Wednesday, June 5th, 2024. You also see a building inspector's report from Building Inspector Matthew Janis to the Mayor and Commissioners. It's dated June 13th, 2024. Application number 0324-02, permit of compliance. Baja Bob's, 101 South Boardwalk, Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, 19971. There's also a application for a permit of compliance. It was received by the Office of the Secretary and WOMAC on March 26, 2024. And the application indicates it's an application for a new restaurant permit of compliance. The submittal checklist is attached and signed by Robert Frankus. And the application includes a city stamp indicating the fee of $1,250 has been paid. And also included is a checklist for compliance with zoning code section 270-19 titled use restrictions. There's also a sample menu for Baja Bob's provided, and a color-coded floor plan prepared by In Place Design, identified as the delineation plan A0.0, dated January 26, 2024. And I should also add for the record that on Thursday, June 6, 2024, in case number 0424-04, the Rehoboth Board of Adjustment unanimously granted a variance requested by the applicant relating to the subject property. More specifically, as the mayor mentioned previously, this was a variance to 270-19A4, and this variance allows the subject property to be zoning compliant. I spoke with Mackenzie Pete earlier this week. She's an attorney who was the substitute counsel for the Board of Adjustment. Mr. Fred Townsend stepped away, and Ms. Pete confirmed that she is working on the written decision for the variance. She expects possibly next week or in the next couple of weeks she'll have that done. But there's no indication the variance will be appealed to the Superior Court, but it will be reduced to writing soon. Just want to put that on the record.
Alex, on that, just on that piece, even though the written opinion or decision has not been published yet, that will not delay the applicant at all, will it?
Correct. That's right. Once the written decision is published, the appellate period for Superior Court begins, so there's 30 days to appeal the decision. There's no indication that the city will be appealing that decision, and I have no reason to believe someone else will at this point.
So are we adding 3 documents to the record, the 2 Board of Adjustment reports to the commissioners, and then the record of decision also?
The record of decision
Or
is
just the record of decision?
the reports of May 20th, 24 of the Board of Adjustment and June 6th of 2024 of the Board of Adjustment. I'd like to move those into the record as well. And they indicate that on June 6th, by 5-0, there was a vote in favor of granting the variance.
All right.
If I may, though, carrying this through, though, if this is granted today and an appeal is filed, what is the applicant's action that needs to be taken?
So you could attach a condition to approval, making approval conditioned on continued zoning compliance. So theoretically, there's a possibility there could be an appeal to Superior Court within 30 days of the written decision. An aggrieved party could take that appeal, and theoretically, a court could reverse the decision to grant the variance. I'm not implying that's the case here, but theoretically that could happen, and then the applicant would no longer be in zoning compliance.
So they could not operate the establishment?
Correct.
Thank you.
Do we really have to go through that machination, because our code says they have to be zoning compliant? So I would think that that's an extra step that's unnecessary.
Agreed.
So,
And that's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
all right, thank you very much. With that, representing city's building and licensing is Matt Janis. Matt, I'll turn it over to you to deliver your report, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners, and more importantly, happy Friday. Before you is application 0324-02 as a restaurant permit of compliance for Baja Bob's located at 101 South Boardwalk, Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, 19971. This is an application for a new permit of compliance for a proposed restaurant to be known as Baja Bob's and will be a new license. The application does not include any application for supplemental permit of compliance for the dining patio. The following is a complete report for the application referenced above to be heard. Pursuant to Section 215-3, the applicant is Robert Frankus of 15 Lee Drive, Ocean Pines, Maryland, 21811. The name of the restaurant is Baja Bob's, located at 101 South Boardwalk, Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, 19971. The restaurant is a table service establishment serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Again, the restaurant is indeed located at 101 South Boardwalk, Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, 19971. Pursuant to the plan submitted, the following is true. Indeed, the property is still located at 101 South Boardwalk, Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, 19971. The structure is a two-story building with mixed use and a proposed area for permitted seated dining in a C1 Central Commercial Zoning District. Pursuant to Section 270-13C3D, a restaurant use serving alcoholic beverages is permitted. The following table is provided. For restaurant service area, kitchen facilities, storage rooms, employee stations, hallways, and utilities, the proposed was listed at 1405. I've calculated at 1459. The dining area, as shown, is 838. Calculated was 768. I believe that was to include some access aisleways for the tables that shouldn't have included in the dining area. Permitted seat in dining is 86 as proposed. I actually counted 85. The bar area is 95 square feet, but the applicant did not include the back bar for that service area, so my total is 255 square feet, so it's the totality of the bar overall. There is no dance floor for this application. Bar seats as proposed is 17. I've counted 17. The restaurant gross floor area is 3,527. I've actually counted it as 3,397 overall. The ratio of bar to permanent seated dining is 19.8. With the one seat removed, it actually calculates to 20%, but still well within our code. Pursuant to Section 215.1 definitions, there is no patio for this permit of compliance. The designated areas for proposed food storage and preparation are shown and labeled on the attached plans. The distance to the nearest property lines of the nearest church, public park, and residential lot are as follows. The Westminster Presbyterian Church is approximately 1,460 feet by way of south on First Street. Lake Gerard Park is approximately 2,506 feet by way of north on First Street. And the closest residential lot that is zoned R2 is 7 Delaware Avenue, approximately 586 feet located to the south of the block. The applicant has stated that the approximate percentage of revenue between the sale of alcohol and food is 10% alcohol and 90% food. Authorization for the city to investigate is attached. Written and dated declaration by the applicant is attached, and the fee of $1,250 has been paid. Also, with my report, I have included a calculation sheet for floor plan. The red numbers are what I have counted, and the dots on each chair are also my calculations. Certainly can answer any questions if you have any.
I have no questions. Hello? Am I here alone?
Should we go to the applicant to make any comments?
There we go. Any questions of building licensing up here? Tony, you have none. Anybody else? If not, we'll move right on. Would you introduce yourself? Pull that microphone within 3.5 inches.
How's that? Is that good?
There you go.
All right, I'll talk loud.
Introduce yourself, if you would.
My name's Robert Frankus. I'm the owner of Baja Bob's.
Are you also the owner of Above the Dunes?
I am.
Okay.
Yes.
One and the same. Very good. And you have a brother that's in business with you?
Yes, I have a twin brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
6 foot tall, though. I don't know. He got all the height.
Is there anything you would like to add to this?
I'd just like to add that we built exactly to plan, as the inspection next week that's scheduled for my final will show that I built everything that was approved according to the building permit that was approved by the city. We had no changes in layout, form, design, anything like that. Secondly is Baja Bob's is a casual dining experience. So we looked about 70% of our sales to be consumed off-premise, right? So we have a takeout window, almost like a grotto pizza, right? Where you walk up, you order tacos. We have self-serve kiosk, online ordering. Obviously, that's food only, no alcohol will be served outside of the building. So, 70% of our sales, that's why only 10/90 split on alcohol revenue, is because most of our sales are not going to be consumed inside the building. The design of the building is focused on quick serve, casual experience. We're going to, as the menu shows, we're going to be selling tacos, burritos, salads, and bowls. They're made to order. Definitely think it's going to be a benefit to the community, to the boardwalk. I've leased that building for over 30 years. Have been a tenant. I'm the owner the last 25 years of Playland Arcade, which is this area that Baja Bob's has gone in. And sort of the change of what kids do in arcades has changed over the last 30 years. So decided to make it a restaurant that benefited the community.
Very good, thank you. Any questions up here? I've got a few, maybe just comments. I look for certain things. One is trash and screening of trash, that would, I guess, be out behind you. And so you follow the code there. There is mentioned in your application and in your drawing, there are no dance floor areas. And as you know, you've been through this before, that if you wanted to add a dance floor, change configuration, then you've got to come back in front of us. There is no outdoor dining patio as noted there. And so those are just some things that we typically as a group like to highlight. Anybody else up here?
I would just like to make a comment and more or less a public statement. I think the city, we screwed up a couple times during this process. I just want to acknowledge that, and I want to thank you for your patience. I think it's so great to have small businesses that want to invest and be a part of the community. And I thank you for that, and thank you for your patience with the city. And we just, as we've experienced this, we just need to do a better job in identifying issues earlier in the process. And hopefully this is a lesson learned for all of us.
Thank you.
Thank
Ed.
you.
Thank you.
And one other thing that I may add, in your statement before about the appeal for the variance, right? So that variance is for the liquor service only. It's not for the restaurant. Obviously, we're almost in July, and I would not want the opening of the restaurant if it was for any reason not decided today that I could get the liquor to hold up the opening of the restaurant, because that's all the variance was for. It wasn't for the use of the restaurant. Is that my understanding, or?
That's correct. It's for the service of alcohol.
Okay.
Right, but Alex, we threw out a worst-case scenario, which is very, very likely not to happen. But it would not prevent them to open as quickly as they can with serving alcohol. It's just if it were appealed and they lost the appeal, then they would have to come into compliance. But that's
correct.
okay. I
think
just
of
want to make
worst-case
sure that
scenarios.
everyone's clear on that, and none of this is going to delay them at all in opening.
Thank you, Ed.
With that, this is a public hearing, and so we're going to open the floor to members of the public to give their opinion one way or the other. Are they for, are they against, do they have any concerns? Anybody here to speak one way or the other? I'm going to give you 10 more seconds. If not, then I'm going to close the public hearing portion of this meeting and would bring it back up here to the commissioners to entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to grant a restaurant permit of compliance for Baja Bob's located at 101 South Boardwalk. I find the following to be true: that the proper application for a restaurant permit of compliance has been filed, that the proper fee has been paid, that the proper notifications have been made, that all parties wishing to be heard have been heard, that the primary purpose is that of a restaurant based on their application and menu submitted, that the restaurant meets the city's applicable zoning and licensing provisions, that the restaurant would not be a detriment to the peace, order, and quiet of the neighborhood and the city, that the restaurant will not have an adverse impact on neighboring properties or on the city of Rehoboth Beach, considering the impact on traffic, parking, and noise, that the applicant has made no false statements to city employees or the commissioners. Therefore, I make a motion that the city manager issue the applicants a permit of compliance for the operation of a restaurant.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ed Chernowski and a second by Commissioner Tony Sharp to grant a restaurant permit of compliance to Baja Bob's for the following reasons read by Commissioner Chernowski. Is there any additional discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those
Aye.
opposed?
Abstain?
We've got one abstention, Commissioner Gossett. The rest are affirmative votes, and the motion carries. Congratulations. You do not have to stick around unless you choose to do so.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So they can what? What's the process here? They can stop by your office in the next week? You have it ready? Okay, very good. Thank you very much. With that, we're going to old business. Again, we're going to skip over A because it's redundant. It's also in C. So we're going to start with old business B. Set the city's real estate tax rate for the tax year beginning July 1st, 2024 and ending June 30th, 2025. Evan or Taylor? I do want to make note that embedded in the agenda is a letter by Carolyn Diefendorfer, and I guess her husband probably has the same point of view and opinion, and they are in favor of the property tax increase for reasons cited in their letter. There is an agenda item report in there, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Evan.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, and members of the public. So as the Mayor had mentioned, there is an agenda item report included within today's agenda under item 13, Old Business, Part B. The agenda item report is identical to the agenda item report that was prepared for the workshop meeting when we presented this topic. I also just want to state for the record that in that meeting, I had given a presentation on property tax as it relates to the general fund and the percentage of property tax as a revenue source supporting the general fund. That presentation has been embedded into the workshop agenda, so that document is now available in the workshop agenda for anybody who wishes to go back and view that information. Again, essentially, just to recap, that presentation just went through the difference between the city's general fund and enterprise funds and the importance of the property tax as it relates to funding as a revenue source those general fund activities. So again, there's nothing different in the agenda item report that's before you today. I will mention that we have added, though, the proposed motion. And the motion that I've included would be a motion that would set the tax rate at the 7.75 cents per $100 of assessed value, which was discussed during the budget meetings that we had. I also have an alternative motion, and that would be setting the tax rate at 6 cents per 100, which is the current rate. So regardless of the decision today, whether it is to set the tax rate at the 7.75 or keep it at 6 cents, motion does have to be made to set the property tax rate. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. With that, I'll bring it to this table for any discussion before we go to the members of the public. Anybody?
Mayor, at our previous meeting on this, at the workshop meeting on this, I asked staff to come today prepared to tell us what would happen if the motion to increase the property tax rate fails. And I'd like to know if we're prepared to talk about that. Sure.
So as I had mentioned, if the proposed property tax at 7 3/4 cents does fail, again, we will have to, or there would have to be a motion to set the tax rate at the current tax rate. The next thing that we would do is bring a budget amendment before the commissioners. We've talked internally about when the appropriate time to do so would be. So around September, October would be about mid-year. That would also give us a good glimpse at the revenue that we've received throughout the summer. So in September, maybe October, we would come back before you all, present a year-to-date budget report and talk through the amendment to the budget with you all. That does not have to be done in a special meeting. That could be done as part of a workshop meeting or a regular meeting. But we would bring an amendment before you all sometime around September or October.
Thank you. Don, go ahead.
So can you remind us, sorry, Evan, don't want you to be jumping up and down.
No.
Can you remind us what this particular rate increase provides, the dollar amount that it
Yes.
provides to the city?
Yes, the total dollar amount was around $500,000. I think it might have been slightly above that. So roughly 500,000, I think it might have been around $560,000 was the projected revenue from the increase.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And either you or the city manager, based on the information that we see today in the report, do we estimate that revenues are trending up? Are they, or down?
Sure.
Already?
So we did take a glimpse at the revenue sources in the general fund. Certainly, certain revenue sources are up. So parking revenue, obviously from going from $3 an hour to $4 an hour, that revenue source is up. There's been a few others like the investments, so the interest on the investments that we have currently in the treasury bills. There are some revenue sources right now that are trending downwards. So building permits are trending down. Also the business license, which is hard to use that as a comparison, that is trending up, but we also projected, that's based on the projected revenue of the 20% increase, which we had talked about as part of the schedule of fees discussion. Some revenue is trending upwards, others is trending down. It's hard. It's very hard because we're only a couple months into the fiscal year. And I think, again, that's why our proposal would be to bring a budget amendment before you all in September, October, because it'd give more information, give you more information.
Sure.
Mid-year, but then also end of summer, so.
Thank you.
Evan, I just looked at the budget. It was
Thank you. I was pulling that.
592,000
Okay,
and
thank you.
change.
So Evan, the funds that were unused from our previous fiscal year,
Yes.
could you restate what that dollar amount is?
So the auditors are here this week. They started this week. We are projecting roughly $1 million in the general fund, $1 million in the water fund, and to break even in the wastewater fund. So again, that would be part of the presentation that is given in July. We'd include more information.
But right now, is it fair to say we have $1 million?
I think that would be fair.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Sure. Has there ever been an occasion in the past where a property tax proposal had been made and with the advent of that increase being applied to residents' property tax, that we basically earned a surplus, and there was an adjustment made in the subsequent year. Have we ever dialed it down? Has it always basically ratcheted up and stayed there and then?
So I can only speak to the 7 years I've been here, and I don't recall ever doing that in the last 7 years.
Okay.
We've never reduced it.
Yeah.
Well, the only time it was reduced was when we had a
reassessment.
reassessment.
Right.
And for a neutral revenue at that time was required during the reassessment.
Correct.
The tax rate dropped, I think, was from $1.76 to 3
4,
cents.
yeah, it was like 3 or 4 cents. And actually, the total revenue that we received after the adjustment was actually less than the prior year. So we did an adjustment to the property tax rate after the reassessment, but the revenue that we brought in was slightly under what it was the year before. So.
Okay.
Anybody else up here before we go to the public?
Yeah, I guess in plain English, what I'm trying to understand is if we don't approve this, it feels to me like there isn't going to be any substantial pain felt by the city because of leftover money and revenues that generally are trending up. But that's only a sense that I'm getting. Can staff confirm this for me or disabuse me of this idea?
I will say that, yes, it does appear that revenues are slightly up, but also looking at the expense side, there is a reason we're bringing the people responsible for the construction of the beach patrol facility in to talk to you about the change orders related to that project. It does look like there are some increases in cost related to that. You never know what's under the ground until you start digging. So there are some other factors related to that, but with the balance left over from last year, it's really a policy decision if you'd like to move forward.
I understand that.
I've got a couple of questions and a comment, but I think I want to hear from the public first.
All right. Well, let me make my comment then. During the budget discussions and vote, I committed to raising property taxes, citing I believed it reasonable for property owners to pay their fair share of services and for commissioners to determine what that fair share was, being mindful that every service we render has gone up in cost since we last raised property taxes. And we keep going to the same well, which is, of course, parking fees. And we may prove to suck the well dry in coming years. Also, during the budget talks, I cited my desire to maintain a balanced budget such that without a property tax increase, then the shortfall has to be resolved somehow. Money's retrieved from some source. And at that time, there was talk of taking monies from the reserve fund, something I'm against until such time as we actually establish the policy and the minimums for a fund balance. So I'm going to be voting as I indicated during the budget talks. Anybody else up here? If not, we'll go members of the public. Suzanne, come on up. Ed, your timing. Suzanne, state your name and relation.
Full-time resident and property owner. I'm struck by the fact that this particular property tax hike will generate approximately $592,000. That's almost the amount of the check which had to be cut by the city, I believe on May 24th, based on closing documents I've seen, for Mr. Tedder's house in Lewis. So I think for members of the public, I'm just putting it out there, you know, money is fungible, but essentially our property tax, hike, which I view as all but inevitable given the overspending, is gonna cover that. Secondly, yes, I do, Mr. Tedder has pointed out, there will be major cost overruns with the lifeguard station. I've spoken to the engineer in charge, very experienced guy. I don't think anyone understands why there wasn't an attempt to figure out that the remnants of a concrete swimming pool and all the coping were underneath there. They only discovered it once they'd gotten underway, and they had to wait 2 weeks for some sort of hammer drill to be brought from New Jersey. There are only like 10 or 15 of those in the entire country, and they're usually in use. So I think between the cost overruns for the lifeguard station and the fact that we had to cut a check for $750,000 on May 24th, we need to rein in spending immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Anybody else? Jeffrey? Sorry, Jeffrey and then Rick. Your name and relationship.
Hello, I'm Jeffrey Good. I'm a resident of Rehoboth. And as a resident, I'm against raising my property taxes. That's most residents would be. And you mentioned other potential sources of income instead of property taxes. And I think they should be explored before, like raising the property taxes, like the final straw, in trying to increase revenue, and it's just a big step. So keep that in mind, please. And something like a beach pass, you mentioned that, maybe you mentioned that, someone I thought mentioned it, might not be a bad idea. I mean, we have such incredible crowds here in the summer, and we should capitalize on that to help defray the costs. Yes, costs are increasing, of course, of the city. So I would, give it and also if you could wait till September without the sky falling, why don't we wait till September to vote on the property tax? That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Rick?
Richard Perry, 46 Pennsylvania Avenue. First, I want to say that I think this is an action long overdue. And I also want to say that consideration of a tax increase has nothing to do with Mr. Tedder. In my view, as I said, this has been long overdue. I am still astonished after owning property here for 15 years that my taxes are so low for a property that is valued so high. I am owner of 2 properties in town, and I have absolutely no objection to an increase in the real estate taxes, provided that the city is not going to cut our services going forward. But it's astonishing that on one of my properties that's valued at over $3.5 million, I'm paying something like $800 a year. That's absurd. And I think that the property owners in town need to recognize that expenses are constantly going up, and you can't have expenses go up if the residents are not paying a fair share in property taxes to support the increased city expenses. And Mayor, I agree with you. We may be sucking the well dry on parking, because I have noticed an incredible decrease in the number of parking spaces that are being occupied in this sort of early summer shoulder period. And I have a feeling it has a lot to do with the increase in parking. And I think you can't go much higher on the parking rates going forward. So it makes sense to me from a business standpoint, and the city is a business, that you look at your expenses and you look at your revenues and you look at how, comparatively speaking, throughout the country, how low our tax rate is compared to others. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Anybody else? If not, I'll bring it back to the table here. If there's no further discussion, then
Yeah, I have a question
entertain.
based on a comment by one of the speakers. Is it possible to consider this in September?
No, it has to be set now.
But there's,
Okay, I understand that. That's not my question.
right, is there any prohibition from establishing another tax increase sometime in the future of this year? The charter states that a tax rate must be set today, but it does not specifically state that it cannot be readdressed in the immediate future.
So the answer to my question is yes, we could address this in September when the staff presents us with an update.
But that would only be effective for the next fiscal year. When do we pay property taxes?
August?
August. So do you have any other thoughts, Commissioner Preston?
No, not at the moment.
Again, are you guys?
Yeah,
I just want to remind everybody that we have the agenda item report, but we also have a resolution in front of us. So what we wanted to be doing at some point is making a motion to adopt a resolution, and if you disagree with the amount on here, then you can insert your own amount.
So I'm going to ditto what the mayor said. I think I committed during the budget season during the approval of the budget to have this increase. I agree with some of the correspondence we've received that our residents get a heck of a lot of value and services provided for what we pay in property taxes. I think we've gotten some comparisons from the staff during the budget process, and I think we're very much, this increase is in line with neighboring communities in what property taxes should be. And every year, costs keep going up, and we've not been increasing property taxes as the cost of providing services has increased. You'll remember that during the budget season, property tax increases was the first thing as an option for us to look at. And I said that I would not be supportive of doing that unless we increased parking, rental tax, business mercantile taxes or fees, and all of those things we did. And I think that this is proportionate to the increases that we're putting on our visitors, on our businesses, et cetera. So I am in support of this, as I was during the budget sessions, and I will vote accordingly.
Would somebody, there's nobody else to speak, would somebody make a motion to adopt the resolution before us?
I will fall on the sword, and it'll come to bite me one day, but that's okay. I'm looking for the resolution, Mayor, just bear with me. Mayor, I move we set a resolution to establish the tax rate on real estate and improvements thereon within the city of Rehoboth Beach for the tax year ending, or tax year beginning July 1, 2024 and ending June 30th, 2025, and setting the rate at at 7 3/4 cents per $100 of assessed value.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ed Chernowski and a second by Commissioner Bunky Marker to adopt the resolution before us establishing a tax on real estate at the rate of 7 3/4 cents per $100 assessed value. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Don Preston?
Pass.
Commissioner Sharp?
I vote no, and I'm going to consistently repeat that it is because of our lack of capital forecasting that I will not support increasing the property taxes. I have consistently said that my role is to stand between this commission and our constituents to not have this increase. And it boggles my mind that we have a $1 million at least surplus, and we're talking about needing to raise less than $600,000, and that does not compute to me. So once again, I'm a negative vote.
Commissioner Shanowski?
I vote yay, and I would just to comment on Commissioner Sharp's comments.
I don't need a discussion, just make your vote.
I vote aye, but I would also remind my fellow commissioners that after we passed the budget, we had a very substantial increase that has not yet been budgeted for, and to keep that in mind.
Commissioner Gossett?
When we passed the budget, I voted against it, against the budget specifically because of the tax increase. But over the last week and a half, I have received more comments, people stopping by my front porch, phone calls, emails, stating that they were very much in support of a tax increase, even being $0.015, 2 cents. And I know there's a lot of facts on the table about this with regards to a overage leftover from our previous year. And I support Commissioner's comment about a lack of capital forecasting, which I so strongly support that we need to do. But based on public comments and individuals that have responded to me, I will support this tax increase.
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Bennett?
I'm a no, consistent with my decision during the budget time. In speaking with city staff, I think the additional fees and the additional taxes, although everybody seems to nickel and dime them, the average household will be charged an additional $1,200 in terms of emergency services fees, raising the wastewater fee, the potential stormwater fee assessment, and the anticipated county assessment. And so I am not for raising the taxes. I would also like to make a sidebar that I hear lots of anecdotal things about the $4 parking. I'll just say I live on Henlopen Avenue. It took me 45 minutes to get to CVS on Wednesday. So somebody's paying $4 an hour. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Markert?
I just want to preface my vote by saying that I agree with the comments made by Commissioner Sharp. I come from a background of working in finance and accounting, and I, with that, adhere or believe that we need to adhere to certain policies with regard to to the manner in which we prepare and present a budget. And I'm not saying, and I think there are things that we need to do in order to make that that policy and process more clear to the residents and citizens of the city. And the issue, I think, centers around largely this idea of having some ability to sort of control or attempt to control the monies that we accrue as a result of surpluses at the end of a particular fiscal year. And that also sort of prefaced my comment that or question that I made before. But I do feel as though that it's necessary for us to come to some policy with regard to establishing what we feel our fund balance should be, and really look hard at that, and hopefully have some kind of mechanism in order to be able to release some of that. But anyway, I think that's important, and I urge us to follow up on that and to be able to come up with that. But I do recognize that we do look at the budget more or less in terms of trying to balance, and I know balance is an accounting word, but I really mean the balancing of the needs for the community and the fact that who bears the brunt of certain types of costs or certain categories of cost that come about as a result of being a tourist town, and the costs that we expense in order to make it an attractive tourist town, which it is. And at the same time, we as residents benefit greatly. Obviously, it's, as I like to say, the goose that lays the golden egg for us, and we don't want to mess with the goose. So, in addition, I find for no reason at all, I discovered that houses in my neighborhood are escalating in value greatly. I guess that's a good thing, if I were going to sell my house, but I really don't. But anyway, we benefit greatly in a lot of different ways in the city. So I think it's important that we keep our eye on the property tax. But as Mr. Perry said, it is ridiculously low. And I'm not trying to advocate that we need to raise it simply because of that, but I think we have to measure to some degree, how much residents are contributing to this and the services that they receive from that, and the level of an expectation of the kind of services that we receive from that. And I think overall, in terms of the escalating costs, I think the expectations of those services are increasing as well. So you have to sort of figure in all that. But anyway, I'm blathering. I vote yes. Thank you. Sorry for that. Take a break. Okay.
Commissioner Preston?
So during the budget discussions, I supported the budget. But during that process, I was troubled throughout it and made that clear that the way we do this is a bit opaque to me. It's unclear what money is where. Do we have a surplus? Don't we have a surplus? And finding these things out after we've made budget decisions, to me, is unfortunate. And I think we should do a better job of preparing the commissioners in these discussions. That's not a comment at Evan. It's a comment about the overall process of how we manage our finances here in the city, and how we talk about them amongst ourselves as commissioners and as staff. It's not normal. At least in my experience in dealing with budgets. I'm troubled by the new news that I've heard today about the significant cost overruns for the new beach patrol project. It's the first I've heard about the significant cost overruns. So that bothers me about where that money is going to come from. It also troubles me that with this tax increase, we will have reached the maximum capacity of the city to raise property taxes without a charter change.
I'm sorry, without what?
Without a change to our charter. So this is it. Theoretically, this is it, unless the state legislature grants permission for us to raise the rate further. This is it. This is the only place left to get, money, other than raising other fees. So, I've asked a bunch of questions today. I don't. I came here today thinking that I would vote no, but I'm actually going to vote yes because I do believe that the services that we get as residents are significant. They're professional, well administered, and a great value for the property taxes that we do pay. But I hope that there is greater emphasis in the next budget discussions on do we have a surplus? Do we project revenues to be greater in the coming year than in the previous year? It's a little bit not a little bit, it's really in support of comments that Commissioner Sharp has made repeatedly about revenue forecasting and a 5-year plan. But with that, I do vote yes.
And the chair votes yes, so the vote is a 5-2. The motion is adopted to raise property taxes as noted. Thank you very much. Next bit of business is consider an ordinance amending Chapter 92, Section 92-38, parking restricted for certain vehicles, Section 92-264, special considerations and exceptions, Chapter 95, Section 95-12, definitions, Chapter 195, Section 195-1, definitions, and Chapter 224, Section 224-2, smoking tobacco products, to remove rules and regulations for Deauville Beach as they relate to parking, beach concessions, and smoking. Evan, I believe that's you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. I had introduced this at the workshop meeting and there wasn't much discussion on it, but this ordinance, again, the intent of the ordinance is to remove rules and regulations related to parking, smoking in the area of Deauville Beach. So again, there is an agenda item report. It has been updated for this meeting, and that just recaps that, again, on or about February 2024, the Delaware Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Control regained control of the state-owned beach known as Deauville Beach. So 9238 is restricted parking for certain vehicles. So that set a length requirement at which time vehicles that were over that maximum length could park at Deauville Beach. So now that removes the reference to Deauville Beach and says that that location is the municipal building here at City Hall in the Convention Center. 92-264 with special considerations and exceptions. That's where we had the parking permits established for Deauville Beach. 95-12, Section 1, this relates to beach concessions and specified the area of Deauville Beach as a location where the city's concessionaire could provide services. Again, they have contracted with the state to provide services down at Deauville Beach. Chapter 195, Section 1, definition, define Deauville Beach as a city park for the purpose of establishing rules and regulations. And again, the state has regained control of that property and they have their own rules and regulations for state parks. And then finally, Chapter 224-2 is allowed smoking down at Deauville Beach. And again, the state has their own rules and regulations. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Were there any changes from last time you presented this?
No, they were not.
Very good. Is there any discussion up among the table before we go to the public?
Just a clarification, if I may. Evan, on line 50, or 49 and 50, Section 1 there, it talks about the entire beach area from the edge of the boardwalk to the water line from the north side of Maryland Avenue to the water line from the north side of Pennsylvania Avenue. Is that, I'm having trouble visualizing that second addition of the water line. So there's an east and a west. If you describe the west side as the edge of the boardwalk, the east side is the water line from the north side of Maryland Avenue, and the water line from the north side of Pennsylvania. Is that? I'm having spatial problems with that, but is that how it lays out?
Yeah, we may we could probably propose some alternative language there. I think the confusion is that we talk about the beach area from the edge of the boardwalk to the water line, yet at the area of Pennsylvania Avenue, the boardwalk would have terminated by then.
Terminate there. I understand what you're saying. I just.
Right. Right.
And I don't want to, I would support this change, but it just, I don't think it's an accurate description to be interpreted in the future.
Sure.
Do you need more time?
Yeah, we could certainly take a look at that. I mean, I think we could propose, if you'd like, we could propose language in this meeting, or we could bring it back before you all. It's not really a time-sensitive ordinance, certainly, so.
Let's put that on our next regular meeting, or actually, let's put it on our next workshop meeting. Is that all right?
With the intention of voting on it at that meeting?
Well, we don't normally vote there.
I know we don't, but if it's on the workshop agenda meeting and it's clear, why wouldn't we?
As long as you can get it done,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you, Mayor.
With that, we're moving on to new business. Again, I'm going to, what? Oh, would you like to, yeah, offer comments? This is still on the topic of amendments to chapters 92, 95, to 24.
Suzanne Good, full-time resident, property owner. I was hoping the mayor or maybe Mr. Tedder would be most grateful if you could address the possibility of renegotiating Deauville at the end of September 2024 and go in with an attitude of contrition and accept the reasonable $10,000 per season price, hoping it's still on the table. So I've tried to get some feedback as to whether this can be renegotiated. A lot of the property owners were blindsided by this because it was in the off-season when these decisions were taken and when the facts were presented. My husband and I happened to be overseas with 2 of our children. So the public has never gotten a chance to figure out whether this could be revisited. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Anybody else? All right. So we'll move on to the next item of business. Again, we're reversing the order of new business A and B. We're going to start off with submission of nominating petitions for commissioners' approval as to qualifications of candidates for the annual municipal election scheduled for August 10th, 2024. Do you have any prepared comments that you want to make on what we are, how we're rating and approving their qualifications?
Sure, I'm happy to address it, but I believe Taylor has some prepared comments.
Go ahead.
You want Alex to start with the process,
I
or-
just want everybody to know what criteria we're using to validate their qualifications. If we were to say no or yes.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. So under Section 3 of the Charter, the commissioners judge the qualifications of candidates. Number 1, they must be 21 years old. At least 3 members of the Board of Commissioners must be permanent residents here. And if an elected officer is found guilty of a felony, they'll be disqualified. They serve for a 3-year term. And again, the mayor and commissioners are the judge of the qualifications.
Okay. Any questions up here?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
So what are the qualifications that we are judging folks on? And I just want to say for the record, I looked, there is nothing in our materials that prepares us for this discussion. Nothing at all. I am sure that every person who has filed an application is qualified or even more qualified than I am. But there is nothing for us to consider today. Nothing has been prepared for us. And I am dismayed by this. You're asking us to approve people's candidacy for elected office without any material to support that. How can this be?
Well, Don, you may not be wrong, but for my 26 years here, that's all I can tell you is that we followed this particular procedure, which is that not until the meeting does the city manager read all the qualifications.
So
Well,
in the future, I'll make sure that we have that for you, definitely.
Yeah, it's fine. And actually, it's not fine. It is unfair to the sitting commissioners to expect them to cast a vote to approve something for which they have not seen any material. We would not do that for any normal agenda item. And yet we are being asked to do that today. And I'm sorry, it is not an acceptable answer, Mayor. This is not directed at you, but it is the comment you made. If this is the way we've done it, it's not the way we should do it.
Can I ask, I thought there was a process of verifying whether or not the petitions were acceptable. I mean, did that take?
Correct, so
Yeah.
I'll go over that
Okay, all right.
when we're ready.
Okay.
Yeah, are we ready?
And can I ask one more question? So you had mentioned 3 people, or at least 3 must be permanent residents?
Right, so the mayor.
So 2 permanent residents are leaving, right?
Correct.
Tony, you're permanent, I'm permanent.
Correct.
So they have to be filled with what? With permanent residents?
3 of the regular commissioners must be permanent residents, plus the mayor. So that leaves 2 maybe non-resident members.
Okay.
So before you start then, can we review, because the number of residents and the number of non-residents is important.
I know when I ran, they were very, very specific with me. Even though I was living here, I needed to go get my Delaware license. I needed to get Delaware license plates. I mean, there was a whole process for me to run as commissioner. So I just want to make sure we're clear that there's 2 permanent residents that are going off the board. And what are we looking at to fill them with?
Well, and you could
At
be
a minimum.
fulfilled with others.
Right, but
Commissioner Marker, are you a resident or,
I am.
let's just, you're a resident?
Full-time resident?
Commissioner?
Full-time resident. I
Commissioner
vote.
Gossett?
I vote.
Commissioner Gossett's a resident. I'm a full-time resident. Commissioner Chernowski,
Full-time resident.
full-time resident. And Commissioner Preston, you're a full-time resident.
Yes.
So how I interpret that is that the 2 winning candidates could be
Could be none.
residents or non-resident.
okay.
Right.
All right,
So,
thank you.
Taylor, go ahead and
Sure.
do your thing, and then let's see if we need to talk further.
So the city's election officer received 5 nominating positions filed for the 2024 annual municipal election to be held on August 10th, 2024. The first is Joseph A. Cardinal, a non-resident property owner of the city of Rehoboth Beach, filed a nominating petition of the Office of Commissioner on Monday, June 3rd, 2024 at approximately 3:50 p.m. Mr. Cardinal provided a Delaware driver's license proving that he has attained the age of 21. The city's tax records show that Mr. Cardinal is a freeholder of property within the city of Rehoboth Beach. The nominating position filed has 23 signatures. 22 of the 23 signatures were verified to be registered voters of the city of Rehoboth Beach.
And I'm sorry, you said he was a non-resident?
He is a non-resident property owner.
I'm just going to express a frustration. I believe we have always used driver's license as an indicator of residency.
Correct, but if their primary residence is not in the city on that driver's license, then they would be a non-resident.
So they could be a resident in Delaware, outside the city.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions on this
Does it
first?
state when that license was issued?
Yes. It was issued in April of 2024.
April 2024, thank you.
Moving on to our second.
Do we, Ann, do you recall, do we normally vote for each one? So we should be voting now for Joseph and then go to the next, because,
Mayor, I move that we approve the nominating petition for Joseph Cardinal.
Second.
we have a motion by Commissioner Ed Chernowski, and a second by Commissioner Tony Shar to, what's my wording? Approve the nominating petition of Joseph Cardinal. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, is this the time to have Donna come into the office?
No, she's,
Most recent driver's licenses were said to be City of Rehoboth Beach, and you never corrected it. So now you finally got the state of Delaware. Thank you. But you really want to have Donna in here answering the questions that you should know the answer for. She's the one that sets the standards. You don't even know them.
is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Did everybody say aye?
I still need clarification on this driver's license thing.
Sure. So we go off of the driver's license. So this individual's primary residence is not in the city of Rehoboth Beach, but in the state of Delaware.
Okay.
Really, how I look at it, Commissioner, is that the driver's license is really needed to prove residency in the city. So if they're a non-resident, it doesn't matter where their driver's license is. It could be Washington, D.C., it can be Philadelphia. If you remember, we had a mayoral election, 20 years ago, where we had candidates saying they're resident with their driver's license in New York City. And we had somebody with a driver's license in Washington, D.C. saying that they're a resident of Rehoboth Beach. So what I'm looking at is there is a valid petition with 22 verified signatures, which meets our criteria, right? They've got to be what, between 10 and
25 signatures.
25. They're a freeholder. That's another criteria. They are a non-resident, which again is to be noted, but it doesn't affect the outcome of our election. So to me, he meets all the criteria.
There's been a motion and a vote on the table.
And I'm sorry, Ann, before we started the meeting, you said I need to take a poll everybody rather than a group vote?
Either poll or take a group vote, but you have to do the same for each one.
So Mayor, a motion second on the floor. You've
Motion and a
taken
second,
taken a
and
vote
I've
for the
actually
ayes, but have not
I
asked.
just couldn't hear how many have said aye.
Could you reinforce the ayes?
Has anybody said no?
No?
You didn't ask that question yet.
Right.
I'm going to poll everybody. We'll get this straight. Commissioner, this is for voting to affirm Joe Cardinal. Commissioners Preston?
Aye.
Commissioner Sharp?
Aye.
Commissioner Chernowski?
Aye.
Commissioner Gossett?
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett?
Aye.
Commissioner Markert?
Aye.
And the mayor votes aye, so he is affirmed. With that, you want to go to candidate number 2. You're
Sure.
doing these, I believe, in alphabetical order.
It is in alphabetical order. Our second nominating petition, Suzanne G. Good, a resident property owner of the city of Rehoboth Beach, filing a nominating petition for the office of commissioner on Monday, May 13th, 2024 at approximately 2:45 p.m. Ms. Good provided a Delaware driver's license proving that she has attained the age of 21. The city's tax records show that Ms. Good is a freeholder of property within the city of Rehoboth Beach. The nominating petition filed has 20 signatures. 16 of the 20 signatures were verified to be registered voters of the city of Rehoboth Beach.
Mayor, I move approval of the nominating petition for Suzanne Good.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Sharnowski and a second by Commissioner Tony Sharp to affirm the nomination of Suzanne Good. Is there any discussion? I'm going to do individual votes, but I'm rotating the starting point. Commissioner Sharp?
Aye.
Commissioner Sharnowski?
Aye.
Commissioner Gossett?
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett?
Aye.
Commissioner Markert?
Aye.
Commissioner Preston?
Aye.
And the mayor votes aye, too. You are affirmed as a candidate, Suzanne. Thank you very much. Next.
Our third nominating petition, Rachel A. Macha, a non-resident of the city of Rehoboth Beach, filing a nominating petition of the Office of Commissioner on Monday, June 3rd, 2024 at approximately 2:30 p.m. Ms. Macha provided a Florida driver's license proving that she has attained the age of 21. The city's records show that Ms. Macha is the grantor and trustee of a revocable trust of property within the city of Rehoboth Beach. The nominating petition has 15 signatures. 14 of the 15 signatures were verified to be registered voters of the city of Rehoboth Beach.
I'm sorry, so she is a non-resident?
Correct.
All right. Wave to us so that we, not everybody knows you, Rachel. With that, entertain a motion in a second.
Mayor, I move that we approve the nominating petition for Rachel Macha.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ed Chernowski and a second by Commissioner Tony Sharp to affirm the nomination of Rachel Macha. Is there any further discussion? If not, again, rotating Commissioner Chernowski,
Aye.
Commissioner Gossett,
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett,
Aye.
Commissioner Markert,
Aye.
Commissioner Preston, Commissioner Sharp,
Aye.
and chair votes aye, and Rachel, you are affirmed as a candidate. Thank you very much.
Moving to our fourth nominating petition, Mark W. Saunders, a resident property owner of the city of Rehoboth Beach, filed a nominating petition for the Office of Commissioner on Monday, May 20th, 2024 at approximately 1 p.m. Mr. Saunders provided a Delaware driver's license proving that he has attained the age of 21. The city's tax records show that Mr. Saunders is a freeholder of property within the city of Rehoboth Beach. The nominating petition filed has 18 signatures, and all 18 of those signatures were verified to be registered voters of the city of Rehoboth Beach.
Very good. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
I move approval of the nominating petition for Mark Saunders.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ed Chernowski and a second by Commissioner Tim Bennett to affirm the nomination of Mark Saunders. Is there any discussion? If not, Commissioner Gossett,
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett,
Aye.
Commissioner Markert,
Aye.
Commissioner Preston, Commissioner Sharp,
Aye.
Commissioner Chernowski.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Mark, congratulations. Wave your hand there so everybody doesn't know you. You are affirmed. Thank you very much. Number
And
five.
moving to our fifth and final nominating petition, Craig Thayer, a resident property owner of the city of Rehoboth Beach, filing a nominating petition for the Office of Commissioner on Tuesday, May 14th, 2024 at approximately 3:08 p.m. Mr. Thayer provided Delaware's driver's license proving he has attained the age of 21. The city's tax records show that Mr. Thayer is a freeholder of property within the city of Rehoboth Beach. The nominating petition filed has 19 signatures, and all 19 signatures were verified to be registered voters of the city of Rehoboth Beach.
I'm sorry, but he is a resident.
Correct.
Okay.
I move approval of the nominating petition for Craig Thayer.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ed Chernowski and a second by Commissioner Tony Sharp to affirm the nomination of Craig Thayer. Is there any discussion? If not, Commissioner Bennett,
Aye.
Commissioner Markert,
Aye.
Commissioner Preston, Commissioner Sharp,
Aye.
Commissioner Chernowski,
Aye.
Commissioner Gossett,
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, and Craig Thayer is also affirmed. So we have 5 affirmed candidates for this year's municipal election. Very good. Those that are here, congratulations. And with that, we're going to go to the next item of new business, which is actually new business A, consider appointments of election officers. We've got nominations provided by the chair of the election board, Stephen Simmons. Wayne Steele, who has done this job for about 18 years or so. Nominating him as the inspector of elections. Melissa Clink, she's done it for about 6 years. John Dewey, he's done it 2 to 3 years. Carol Bunny Steele has done it for about 2 years. Maria Vendetti is new. Gary Wert has done it for 2 to 3 years. So they're all experienced and vetted, trained, and the one, of course, will be trained. Would like.
I move we approve the slate of election of officers as mentioned.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ed Chernowski and a second by Commissioner Tony Sharp to appoint the election officers as noted. And is there any further discussion? If not, as a group vote, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Very good. And those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 individuals are appointed as election of officers, with Wayne Steele appointed as the inspector of elections. Thank you very much. With that, we're going to move on to commissioner announcements and comments. Anything by the commissioners?
I just have one, Mayor, and my recollection is that possibly about a year and a half ago, we had a presentation from building and licensing about pervious and non-pervious surfaces, and no ordinances ever came forward. So I don't know whatever happened to that, but it occurred to me that if the Stormwater Task Force fee is going to be contingent on pervious percents of surfaces, wouldn't that need to be in place?
Yes, you're very correct. I have been looking into this, so this
Okay.
will be coming up in the future, definitely related to that task force, but yes, it needs to become alive again.
Okay, great.
Anybody else up here? Commissioner comments? With that, we'll move to the next item, which is review future meeting dates. Our next workshop meeting is Monday, July 8th, 9:00 a.m. And with that, we'll move to citizen comment. These are for comments off topic.
Mayor, if I may remind you, we have a executive session following that meeting.
Correct. Special workshop, a special meeting and executive session, correct. Walter, come ahead.
Good afternoon, Walter Brittingham, 123 Henlopen Avenue, way off topic. But this is about the second year we've had the yellow flashing lights on Rehoboth Avenue, and we've done a lot of projects. They became very expensive. But I want to tell you, I think they're working very well, and I think we should all be ambassadors. If we see somebody walk up to a light, say, press the button, because they need to be recognized and they need to be utilized. And I tell people, watch the other lane. But of all the money that we spent on items like that, people are using them when they understand how they work. Thank you.
Some people just stand there oblivious to the need to push the button. Absolutely. Thank you, Walter. Is there anything else? Any other? Jeffrey, come ahead. Ed?
Hi, I'm Jeffrey Good. I'm a resident. And this is a little bit similar to what Walt was just talking about. I was on the boardwalk today, as I am most days, and it was really hard to walk on the board. There were so many bikes going in all sorts of directions that it's amazing there weren't any accidents. There weren't, but there are a lot of close calls. So I'm not sure what you guys could do about it, but something should be done before there's a pretty, and also there's that electric bikes too, which look like small motorcycles. So just to keep that aware for safety on the boardwalk walking.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jeffrey. Anybody else? If not, I'm going to call this meeting adjourned at 3:50 p.m. Thank you very much. Adjourned? I don't know.